Why did the soldier bring a blanket to an active battle zone? His fellow soldier needed cover. The Central African Republic has experienced civil unrest, widespread poverty, and storms of violent warfare ever since 1960 before finally attaining freedom with the help of the Russian army in 2021. The movie begins with a battle between Russian and African soldiers against a local terrorist organization of Central Africa. In the meanwhile, a Russian soldier named Grisha is shot by the enemy. It seems like he is dying as he closes his eyes. Then a flashback is shown that tells us what was the actual reason behind this riot. A troop of Russian soldiers land on the grounds of the Central African Republic. Grisha is also among them. They carry their baggage and leave for their base. A black man, Maxim, is shown spying on the Russian troops from a distance as they board their vehicles. Later on, Central African Republic streets are shown. They are very dirty and gloomy, and the living conditions there are quite horrendous. In a van, a soldier asks Grisha about his military name. He says it's Pioneer, meaning a newcomer. Later, when Russian troops reach their base, they are instructed by their commander about their duties. They are basically here to teach defense to the local African army, and they have no right to interfere in their private matters, no matter what. He tells them not to rape their women and to use their guns only when it comes to their life safety. Then he looks at Grisha and says that he is especially telling these rules to make things clear for the newcomers. Then he leaves. The same man, Maxim, who was previously spying on the Russian troops, calls a terrorist organization head, Antony. He is a priest by profession, and he asks Antony if he is ready to terrorize the civilians. Antony replies in affirmative, and they agree to meet at the base within a week. Antony then meets his gang of young boys and middle-aged men and tells them that they have to fight together as this place is their area and no one is allowed to give them any orders. He tells his men to rape women and steal whatever they like from civilians with no hesitation. They all cheer for him and leave. A man came to Antony and told him he can't go as his son is not all right. Antony brutally shoots him and leaves for Bungai as well. In the next scene, the Russian troops are in their unit when Grisha meets the chief officer. He asks him if it is his first time. Grisha nods and then tells him that before this he was a police officer who was fired from his post. He asks him if he gets scared of the gunfire in the midst of a war, will he leave? Grisha denies and enlightens the chief that he can speak French as well. Grisha requests chief to change his call name Pioneer to something else. The chief agrees and gives him a new name of Tourist. Grisha asks the reason behind it and comes to know that according to the captain, he seems like an observer, a tourist who is just visiting a place. Grisha unpacks his stuff in the camp and meets Layout, another soldier. Layout asks Grisha where he came from. Grisha tells him he was a police officer before. Layout openly confesses that he despises police officers and leaves. Then Grisha goes to the canteen and tries to observe his fellow soldiers' conversations. Soon, Layout joins him and informs him about bullets and how to seek medical assistance on campus. Grisha thanks him as Layout leaves. Grisha's first night in camp isn't very comfortable, yet he manages to stay collected. The next morning, Maxim goes and meets a candidate elected for African presidency and a French man. He tells them that he has asked different rioting organizations to cause tzlama in Bungai and take it under control before the elections. The Frenchman asks Maxim about the Russians, and Maxim assures him that they are not a threat as they are only here to teach self-defense to the local army of Africa. In the next scene, we see Antony's men terrorizing people in Boda and Boli as well. After this, they are successful in entering Dakoa as well. This information is being conveyed to the Russian chief as well. He orders Russian troops to halt from any kind of interference. On the other hand, the camp base is shown where the commander, Kuban, instructs his soldiers that they will soon be training local police officers along with the Faka. Kuban visits chief and the chief orders him to go to the endangered local zone. He nods and departs. It took them 2 days to reach there. Grisha is feeling overwhelmed. On the other hand, Antony's men kill a dozen unarmed civilians and rape their women. They are successful in looting the whole village. After the riot, he asks the men whose life he spared during the rift to join him on his mission. They didn't accept his offer and were shot by him. At night, the chief comes to the base and tells 2 major rank soldiers about the crisis in the Central African Republic. He tells them now they have to do more than just training as they have to take action. The soldiers ask him not to interfere with the Republic's private matters as it can cause a massive international crisis. They decide to give it a thought. In the next scene, the current president of the African Republic is shown and he meets the head of the African army. They strategize together how to defeat those terrorists. President asks them he doesn't need a war and that he will ask his allies to help them out. Later on, the chief of the African army comes and negotiates terms of a joint operation to make the enemy flee, with the Russians. The Russians assure the Africans not to worry as they will help them. Grisha and his troop reach the endangered zone and they meet African troops as well. Now the terrorists have entered Junkie and are causing havoc. After this, they are successful in setting their foot in Yalok as well. The Russians follow their trail and are heartbroken to see dead bodies laying around. Terrorists then occupy Grimari and cause destruction there as well. Soldiers are eating food. Grisha and Layout are also present. He asks Grisha why he was fired from the police. Grisha tells him to shut up and it causes a heated moment between them. Maxim meets the French ambassador and tells him about the ongoing condition. He instructs Maxim to eliminate Russian forces as soon as possible and to destroy their public image by claiming false allegations on them. After this, the terrorists take over the police station, kill the officers and steal the weaponry from them. Maxim calls Antony and tells him about the new orders which he follows hesitantly. The Russian troops board their aircraft to reach the affected places. On the other hand, the terrorist organization asks UN agents to get out of their way as they have no fight with them. They comply. Now, the Russian and African army is getting ready to fight off the enemy together. In the next scene, we see an informant telling Antony that Russians have set up mines at the boundaries of the village. Antony takes a woman's child away from her and instructs her to go to the Russians to give them a message. She does as she is told. She tells them Antony wants to negotiate. Antony comes with a white flag, announcing peace with the Russians. Russians rescue the little boy and tell him that there is no peace with monsters. Grisha keeps translating the conversation between Russians and Antony. Antony angrily leaves as now there is going to be a massive war. Kuban instructs the snipers to take their place. Grisha laid low behind a sack, holding a rifle when suddenly he was asked to bring some water by Layout who was lying right beside him. He departs while cursing Layout and he got stranded between bombing and gunshots. Terrified from this, most of the African soldiers flee. Grisha comes back without water and Layout curses him about being a coward and a prior police officer by profession. Layman soon joins them. Kuban instructs everyone to fire at Antony's crew. Soldiers are dying as bombardment is taking place. At headquarters, another Russian major arrives who tells the chief that if they want to take out Antony's men, they first must think like they do in order to understand their strategy. In the next scene, Grisha tells Layout that he has fetched a walkie-talkie from the war zone. Layout is a bit impressed by Grisha's developing valor. Grisha asks Kuban to let him fire on the front row when they will again fight. Kuban agrees. Grisha and another soldier go to an abandoned property nearby and find bullet shells and 3 African soldiers there, who didn't run with the rest. One of them is Catherine. They rescue them and bring them to the camps near the borders. Later on, the captain called the UN head, who is a French man, and asked him to provide shelter for the nearby Russian officers. He agrees and tells him that he won't interfere with the private members of the civilians. The UN's head asks them to send their men unarmed. The captain agrees. In the next scene, Layout asks Grisha of the cause behind him getting fired from the police while smoking. Grisha tells him that he let one of his friends, who was carrying drugs, pass the security out of pity and got caught later on, so they fired him. The captain calls Kuban and tells him about the pact with the UN. The next morning, more officers from the Russian army went to the war site and they terminated a number of terrorists. One of them was alive, so they asked them where the rest of the organization went. He complies to their demand. Grisha is washing his head when the terrorists started attacking them. A heavy duel takes place and Grisha gets shot. He was fainting out, but he stood up and fired back at the enemy. He saw Catherine's life being compromised, so he ran and saved her too. Layman and Layout cover Grisha and rescue them both. They took them into a sanctuary. Kuban calls the captain and tells him what Grisha did bravely. The captain assures Kuban that he will send a helicopter to their location that will take an hour and a half, and that Grisha must live. Kuban agreed. On the other hand, Russian soldiers, African troops, and African policemen meet and decide to put block posts in every city to stop Antony's men. Maxim calls Antony and tells him to be efficient. The French man with him tells him that now he will take care of things. He sent a hitman to kill Antony, who kills Antony. In the hideout, Layout comes and tells Grisha that his real name is Alexei and that he hates cops because they killed his son, without any reason. He tells Grisha to live, no matter what. Then, the helicopter arrives and they board Grisha and Catherine on it. Grisha makes it out alive and safely. The Russian army takes over every violated area within the Central African Republic, hence eliminating the terrorists. At last, Russians faced triumph as they liberated the African Republic from the nightmare of Antony and others like him. On the other hand, Grisha is being treated medically. Maxim went to the presidential candidate and announced his defeat. Maxim asks him to leave the country as all their efforts brought no colors. Late at night, the current president of the African Republic comes and tells his soldiers to be proud of themselves. In the next scene, Grisha is healing in Russia. He is in a cafe, speaking with an old co-worker, the same one who sacked him from the police in the past due to their dishonest dealings. He suggests that he has discovered a decent solution to Grisha's previous reputation and invites him to be restored at work as a police officer. Grisha shrugs his offer off and Gregory suddenly has a clear understanding of where and how he will be able to carry out the purpose of his employment with the police, which is to restore justice. A traveler who has fought before and acquired a solid reputation returns to Africa. When Kuban asks him about his military name, he responds, "I'm flying to hell, but I like being here," when asked why he has such a call sign. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this and help the channel grow.